Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to run through everything I carry for bike packing, for long-term bike packing in 2025. I'm currently on the road traveling through Mexico, so this is literally what I'm carrying with me right now. For some context, I have been cycling around the world for the better part of 10 years now. I'm coming up on 90,000 kilometers or 55,000 miles of fully loaded bike packing around the world. In this setup you can see here, I have enough warm clothes and equipment to camp down to, the lowest I've got to has been minus 15 Celsius or 5 Fahrenheit. I've been able to carry simultaneously 5 days of food and 11 liters of water with this setup without changing anything. There is a full-size laptop in here. I have all of my camera equipment as well. There is even a 30-litre fully featured hiking backpack rolled up into this setup as well. The setup is incredibly good and it's the closest to perfect I've ever come, but it definitely still is not perfect. So I am going to be showing you the things that I'm looking to upgrade. And if you have any suggestions while you're watching this video, please let me know in the comments. I am always looking for ways to improve this further. Do let me know if you have any ideas. A couple of quick disclaimers to get out of the way before we get started. First of all, some of the gear I use is pretty expensive because I live on the bike full time. I get a hell of a lot of use out of this stuff, so for me it's definitely worth it. But if you can't afford some of the more expensive pieces, don't be put off. Bike packing is very accessible. You don't need super expensive fancy gear to go bike packing. I'd suggest just using this, what I pack, as a baseline, as a guide, and then you can substitute cheaper items in many of the categories if you want to. Second thing to note is that some of the items I'm using have been sponsored and I have got some of these for free. I will always let you know which items are sponsored, just for full disclosure, but just because I've got something for free doesn't mean it's not something I would pay for. I'm a massive perfectionist with this stuff and I use my gear literally every single day, so I would much rather pay full price than get something subpar. But as I say, just so you know, some of this gear is sponsored. So I'm going to start out and run through first of all everything I carry, and at the end of the video I will be going through the reason behind my switch from the rear rack to a seat pack. So if I start with what I'm wearing, this is what I wear every day when I'm cycling. So the top is a merino wool long sleeve top. Merino wool is just a wonder fabric. It is absolutely incredible. It doesn't smell even if you wear the same top for days or even weeks at a time. It dries really fast. It's very breathable, keeps you warm when it's wet. It keeps you cool when it's hot. The best ones I've found are from a company called Handlebar based in the UK, so I definitely recommend checking them out. Super soft, super comfortable. They're just amazing. They're lovely to wear. I'm also wearing a merino wool buff. I basically always wear something like this. It keeps the sun off the back of your neck, and I ride a ton of really dusty roads. So if a car comes along and churns up a cloud of dust, I can just very quickly pull that up and then keep my face protected from all the dust. The shorts I'm wearing are the lightweight mission shorts from Ornot, who are based in San Francisco. I've been wearing these for about the last 6-7 months and I absolutely love them. The socks are darn tough, merino wool hiking socks. Again, merino wool is the way to go. And I am also wearing merino wool boxer shorts from Icebreaker. The shoes I'm wearing are the Giro Tracker shoes. I only wear one pair of shoes, so I need my shoes to be versatile. These are flat pedal shoes, which means I can use them for hiking or running off the bike. They're super comfortable. They're not waterproof. I actually don't like waterproof shoes because in my experience, they don't really stay waterproof for very long. And it just means that they're not going to breathe as well. They don't dry as fast. And no matter how waterproof they are, you've got a big gaping hole in the shoe where your leg goes. So if you ride in heavy rain all day, your feet are going to get wet no matter what you do. So I just think waterproof shoes are kind of a waste of time. So this is the Bell 6er MIPS helmet. It's a pair of fingerless cycling mitts, just my pocket knife. So that is the Benchmade bug out, and that is brilliant. It's a one-handed opening, so I can get to that extremely quickly. The only thing I carry with me while I'm cycling that you're not seeing here on the bike is my hip pack. So this is normally on my body while I cycle. This is basically just my camera bag. This is the Rockgeist Big Dumpling. I absolutely love this bag. I've had this for I think about 3 years now and it's still holding up beautifully. It's such a good bag. It's fully waterproof, or at least fully rainproof, which is a big deal because most hip packs are not going to have that feature. It's brilliantly comfortable. I've got nothing else to really say. I don't even really notice I'm riding with it. The access is super quick. It's a roll top. Getting it open and closed, you can do it one-handed very easily while it's on your body. In terms of what I'm carrying in this bag, this is basically my camera bag. So I want to wear the camera on my body because it protects it from the road vibrations, it keeps it secure, my body basically acts as an insulator. It also means that I have everything ready for super quick and easy access. So the main camera that I'm using would normally be in this slot here, and it's the camera that I'm filming this on right now, which is the Fuji X100VI, which is a 35mm equivalent fixed lens camera, which I've been using for about the last 6 months. I was very lucky to pick one of these up because they are super hard to get, and it has the advantage of being so tiny, so compact, so light, which is obviously a big bonus for bike packing. As much as I do absolutely love the camera, I definitely have felt limited by the fixed 35mm focal length. It's just a little bit too narrow for the kind of videos that I'm filming, especially if I want to kind of vlog with it. It's basically just, it's too tight for that. I think I've probably got to the point now where I'm ready to switch over to something else. So I think probably in the next few months, I will be switching back to my other camera, which is a Sony a7 IV. To go with the camera, I have the Rode Video Mic Go microphone. I haven't been super impressed with this, to be honest, so I probably wouldn't recommend this. I probably wouldn't buy that again. And then the other main thing I have in here is my drone. So this is the DJI Mini 4 Pro drone, which I've had now for about a year or so. This thing is absolutely brilliant. I'm so impressed with this drone. Along with the drone itself, I do obviously have to carry the remote. So this is the DJI RC2. The nice thing is that all of this is super quick to get to, including the drone. The only other things that I have here in this bag, which you can't see because they're sort of buried underneath it, are my passports, a few extra credit cards, a little bit of extra cash. And the nice thing is, because that's just on my body, I pretty much live in this when I'm out during the day. So I will wear this when I go into shops, when I leave the bike for any reason. So I know that my most valuable stuff, that is always with me. So that is always safe, and that is a really nice thing. The only other thing which I have on this bag is my emergency Garmin InReach Mini 2. So that is a satellite messenger. Honestly, I barely ever use this. That is switched off 99% of the time, but I do have that there just as an emergency thing because I spend most of my time out of phone signal. So the knowledge that if I have a problem, if I get bitten by a snake or something, or if I have a fall or something disastrous happens, I can use this, I can call for help. So that is basically what it's there for. And luckily, I've never had to use it for that reason, but it is there if I need it. So I'm going to start out by running through what I carry in my seat pack. So this is all stuff that I definitely will not need during the day. I pack this up in the morning. I don't touch it at all during the day. I never need to adjust anything. And then I just pull it out in the evenings. The seat pack that I'm using is the Revelate Designs Terrapin. So I've actually had this Terrapin for I think about 8 years now. I've had many hundreds of days worth of bike packing on this. This particular one is probably getting towards the end of its lifespan at this point. I've had to make a few repairs. It's starting to fall apart a little bit, but it is still going strong. I really recommend the Revelate Designs Terrapin. Show you what I carry in the seat pack. I'm actually just going to take it off, I'm going to unload it, and then I'm going to show you how I pack it. Okay, so I've now emptied out the seat pack and it is all precariously balanced on the front of my bike. This would all obviously normally happen from the inside of my tent. These do need to be packed in a pretty specific way to get the most out of them. You want the heaviest stuff in at the bottom, and you want a really tight pack, especially at the bottom, and then the lightest stuff on the top. So this is how I pack it the same way every day, which works really well. First thing that goes in is the sleeping pad. So this is a Big Agnes Rapide SL insulated sleeping pad. I do really like this pad. It's the most comfortable one I've ever used by far. The downside to the Rapide is basically the durability. All inflatable pads are going to go eventually, but this definitely doesn't last as long as the Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite, which I've used a lot in the past, but it is worth it for the extra comfort, and Big Agnes do have a really good repair and warranty. Next thing that goes in is my toiletries kit. So that is Old Spice deodorant. I have some toothpaste in there. I have some dental floss. I have my toothbrush, and I have a comb. And I think that is just about it. I don't wash with shampoo or conditioner. I stopped using that on my hair 12, 13 years ago, and my hair's just fine. Once your hair gets used to not being washed with all that stuff, it just adapts. And now my hair's actually much better than it ever was. So yeah, if you're looking for a way to save some space in your bag, stop using shampoo. And you don't need it, just wash with water and everything's fine. The next thing that goes in is a luxury item for sure. This is my beard trimmer. Definitely don't need that, but I try and avoid looking like too much of a tramp if possible. What I then basically do is just stuff a bunch of clothes around those items to give that bottom some rigidity. This is the pump sack for the sleeping pad, so that's just for inflating it without having to use your breath. So that just gets stuffed at the bottom. Spare pair of merino wool socks. With clothes, essentially the philosophy I have is I want one set to wear and then a spare set, which I keep cleanish, dry, to change into when you get cold and wet. I have a couple of spare pairs of merino boxer shorts, also from Icebreaker. Probably don't need 3, 2 would probably do it, but I'm incredibly glamorous and carry a spare 2 pairs of boxer shorts. I know it's absurd, but what can you do? So this is the Nemo Pillow Elite modified pillow. So when I say modified, what I've done is I have actually bought a piece of memory foam, cut it down to size, and then stuffed it in between the inflatable balloon of the pillow and between the outer case. There is this sort of inch thick piece of the memory foam, and this has been an incredibly good mod. I'm so happy I thought to do this. So by putting the memory foam in between, it just means that it is blissfully comfortable. So would highly recommend it. You can definitely use that mod with other pillows than the Nemo Pillow Elite. As long as your pillow has a kind of liner design like this one does, you can do it. So this is a pair of merino wool long johns, sort of leggings type of thing. I basically sleep in these. And then lastly, this is the another long sleeved merino wool top. Clothing wise, I am literally at what I consider to be bare minimum, which is 2 sets of clothes. So what I'm wearing right now, and then 1 extra set, 1 extra shirt, 1 pair of trousers, and then I can wear those when I'm washing these and vice versa. For me, that's all you need. You don't need more than 2 sets of clothes. And then the last thing that goes in here is my sleeping bag. This is actually a quilt. So this is the Enlightened Equipment Enigma 10 degree bag. So that's 10 Fahrenheit. I'm a big fan of quilts. They're lighter and they pack down a lot smaller. This quilt is absolutely brilliant. Enlightened Equipment make fantastic gear, very, very reasonably priced as well. This particular quilt, the Enigma 10 Fahrenheit, has got me down to 5 Fahrenheit, wearing all of my clothes. That is minus 15 Celsius. And I've been just about okay. My philosophy with both sleeping bags and clothes, everything you're wearing is, on the coldest night of your trip, you want to be wearing absolutely everything and just about be warm enough. That's good enough. I don't mind being a bit uncomfortable very occasionally if it means I'm not carrying extra gear, as long as I'm not miserable. And with everything I'm carrying, as I say, I've been able to get down to that kind of temperature, minus 15, and not be miserable. I wasn't having a great time, but it was only, one night that it was that cold. The rest of the time it was a bit better and it was okay. So I'm super happy and on balance. I think I got it right with this setup. And that's it. It all packs down to a really small package. I can then just put it on the bike and that's it. That's the seat pack. So that's everything I carry. As I say, I never touch this during the day. This is just basically gets packed in first thing in the morning and then it stays there till the night. Yeah, that's everything I have in the seat pack. Okay, so let's move over to the handlebar bag. So this is a custom handlebar bag from a small company called Barking Bear Bagworks based in the US. There is a ton of space in here and it is incredible. I absolutely love this bag. So firstly, in the big stretchy front pouch of this bag, I have a 8-litre stuff sack containing the gear I want for inclement weather. I can get to this extremely fast without having to undo any of the bags. It's just there, super, super accessible. So in here at the top, I have my insulated jacket. So this is the Enlightened Equipment Torrid hooded jacket. Brilliant, brilliant piece of gear. It's super lightweight, super comfortable, super warm. So really love that. This is a Sea to Summit microfiber towel. It is obviously super crucial that you always know where your towel is. I have a pair of hiking trousers. So this is also from Or Not in the US. These are the lightweight mission pants. The trousers are in there for quick access because I do sometimes wear those over my shorts while cycling, usually just maybe for the first hour of the day. If it's cold or if it gets cold, I can just put these on and give myself some extra warmth. So next is my mid layer. This is the Senshi Designs Alpha 60 hoodie. This thing weighs something like 60 grams. And yet it is so, so warm, so breathable, so versatile, so incredibly soft and comfortable that this has become really one of my favorite pieces of gear that I've ever found. I have no association with this company. I just really, really love this product. My rain jacket. So this is the Montbell Versalite rain jacket. It folds down to, you know, almost nothing. It's super lightweight, and yeah, it's great. You know, it's fully waterproof. It's featured. It has pit zips, armpit zips, which for me are crucial because it makes the jacket so much more breathable. So I actually use that more as a windbreaker than I do as a rain jacket. And the last thing that I carry in here is just my little kind of grab pouch. There's a few bits and pieces in there. That is a universal sink plug. I'd use that for doing my laundry in hotel sinks. That's really, really useful. I have an extra disposable lighter in there. I have my sewing kit. Had this actually since I was a kid, so this is probably the oldest thing I have. This is about 20 years old. The important one in there is the curved upholstery needle, which I can use to repair my tires if I have any kind of really nasty sidewall tears or anything in there. That is paracetamol, I think, that one there. Ibuprofen in here somewhere. There you go, ibuprofen. That is just my repair kit for my sleeping pad. Black Gear Aid tenacious tape. That's super useful for all kinds of repairs in general. Would always want to carry that. A couple of condoms. Always be safe. Imodium, a replacement buckle. So I can use that for virtually any of the buckles that I have. I just think it's important to have one of those because if any of the buckles do break, I can then replace it with that, which is good. Couple of tick remover tools. The bag itself is just a little bag that I bought when I was cycling through Istanbul, God, like 9 years ago now. And that does a good job. So that is everything I carry in that one. So that is everything I have in this front pouch. I then also have two side pouches, which are also great for quick storage. So on the left-hand side are my tent stakes, which I have stored separately to the rest of my tent, a stuff sack. So at the top, I have my chain repair kit, essentially. So that's just some dry chain lube and a bit of a rag in there just for cleaning the chain. My toilet bag, essentially. So this just contains some toilet paper, and it also has a titanium trowel, the juice, for digging a little cat hole if you need to do your business in the woods. Leave no trace is really important, so I think carrying a trowel, especially one that's made out of titanium and weighs basically nothing, is definitely a good idea. So the next thing I have just in a little Ziploc bag here are some extra clothes for inclement weather. So that is stuff like my waterproof socks. It's a bit of a misnomer because they don't actually, in my experience, keep your feet dry. As I said, if you ride in rain all day, your feet are going to get wet. You might as well just accept that. So rather than trying to keep your stuff dry, I think for me it's more important to keep yourself warm and keep yourself comfortable. And if I wear waterproof socks over merino wool socks, I just find that my feet stay warm. So next are a pair of undergloves. So these are from Arc'teryx. These are basically just liner gloves. And then on top of those, I have another pair of gloves from Arc'teryx. These are sort of thicker over gloves. The next thing I have in this bag is my first aid kit. There's not much in there. It's just a triangular bandage, some wrap in there as well, a little set of water purification tablets, my mosquito head net, and then at the bottom I just have some super glue, an extra Voile ski strap if I need it in case something breaks. And then lastly I have the pinion lock ring tool just wrapped up in this little bag here. If you are riding a pinion, I highly recommend carrying one of these just because it's the only tool on the pinion system that is proprietary. It's the only thing you're not going to find in a bike shop. Okay, so that is everything that I carry in this side pouch. If I move over to the other pouch, this contains two things. So firstly, this is my purification kit. So I have the filter that I use, which is the Platypus quick draw filter. Filter's good, no issues there, nice and lightweight. And the other thing I have in there is my water filter bag. So this is not the bag that the filter comes with. This is a Knock Outdoors 2-litre water bag. So I really, really love this bag. It's great for filtering water because you can take the top off and then you have a super large opening on the front there for filling up from, you know, sources. And then you also have the normal opening on the other side, which I can attach my filter to. The second thing that I have in this other pouch here, this is my 30-litre hiking backpack. So this is the Durston Waptor 30 hiking backpack. So as you can see, it folds down absolutely tiny, but this is actually a full-sized 30-litre technical hiking pack. So this is an amazing, amazing bag. I've been able to go hiking for up to about 5 days just using this bag with food, all of my gear, which I think is pretty amazing. It's super, super comfortable. And because I have it stored in the side pouch, I can get to this very quickly. So what I have done quite a few times is when I've been doing really difficult, challenging hiker bike, I've quickly undid that. I've taken out the bag, I've thrown a few bits into it to take some weight off the bike and put it onto my shoulders, which just makes the hiker bike much easier. And I also use this for riding technical single track. So if I know that I've got a longer section of technical single track ahead, what I'll usually do is I'll put some of the heavy stuff into this bag, especially off the front end. So I will take my laptop out of this bag, put it into the backpack, and just taking some of that weight off the front end makes the bike a lot more maneuverable. I don't like riding with a backpack in general, but I don't mind doing it when I'm riding technical stuff. I don't really notice it. So this backpack is really a game changer for me. And it is also one of the reasons that I have switched away from using the backpack on the rear rack. So I will talk about that more later in this video, but this is definitely a big part of why that's possible for me. I would never travel without a backpack of some sort, just because I find them too useful. Even for off the bike stuff as well, I regularly use this for hikes or just walks around town, anything like that. And that just goes in the side pouch. So nice and easy. Highly, highly recommend this backpack. I'll put a link in the description. Okay, so if we now go into the main compartment of this bag, the first thing is my laptop. Okay, so this is the padded case for my laptop. I just have this zippered pouch here. There are a few extra bits I have in there. Firstly, that is a Samsung S7 SSD, USB-C to USB-C cable on there. That's where I store all of my video. I then have a backup SD as well. This one is an SSK. I carry two SSD cards just because if one of them gets corrupted, I want to make sure I don't lose any of my footage. The SSD was one of the things that people recommended in my last video, so thanks to everybody who suggested that. Aside from the SSDs, the other things that I have in here are a SD card reader, just for taking stuff off my cameras, and then that is just a little adapter card for the micro SD cards. And then I have the main zippered pouch which contains my laptop. That's just, as I say, a MacBook Air M1. I just have this little bit of microfiber cloth which I put in the middle, and that just keeps it protected. So I just store that like that, close it all up, and that is how I store my laptop. And as I say, that's been going strong after many years of use now, so no problems. It is surviving just fine. So the next thing I have in this bag is my tent. So this is the Durston X-Dome 1 Plus. I'm not going to talk very much about this tent in this video because I've actually just done a full review of this tent not too long ago, so I'll put the link to that in the description. Suffice to say, this is by far and away the best tent I've ever come across. Just have a look at my review if you want to see why I think this tent is so breathtakingly good. But yeah, still absolutely loving this tent, and that just sits in the front handlebar bag there. And then the last thing that sits in my handlebar bag is my food bag. The bag itself is a custom Dyneema food pack from Hilltop Packs, which I definitely don't need, but I do really like this. This was a little gift to myself. I have my cook pot and cook system, which I will show you separately. Right now, I just have some pasta. I only have one day's food right now because I'm going to be resupplying tomorrow. I have a plastic bottle of olive oil, have some salt, I have a Snow Peak titanium spork, which I really like. I have this is a BRS gas stove, and I almost never use this, but it weighs about 25 grams. So I just carry this as a backup stove, basically, in case I can't find, my main stove runs off alcohol, but I carry this just in case I can't find alcohol, but I can find gas. And as I say, it weighs 25 grams, so I'm willing just to carry that weight penalty because it does very occasionally come in handy. I have, what else have I got in here? A bunch of tea. Obviously that's vitally important. It's embarrassingly British of me to say, but I always have some tea with me. And the last thing I have in there is the titanium base plate for my stove. I just carry that, and I don't always use this, but if there's any chance of the ground catching fire, so if I'm cooking on wood or anything that might burn, I use that just to protect the environment, because obviously I don't want to be starting any fires. And that is everything I have in that bag normally. I will show you separately what I have in the cook pot. So this is the cook system basically. So that is the pot, that is the stove, that is the fuel. So this is a homemade pot cozy, and inside the pot is everything I need. That is just a MSR Alpine dish brush. So I basically just use that for cleaning up afterwards because I like that better than a sponge. This is the alcohol stove, the Kojin from Trail Designs. So all you do, you pour alcohol into that and then you set fire to it. and it's absolutely tiny, and then you can blow it out afterwards, and the extra fuel is just stored inside. It all seals up, so that's brilliant. Microfiber towel for drying and cleaning, so that's obviously good to have. This is probably my luxury item. I definitely don't need this, but I really like it. Basically, it turns this into a flamethrower. So the normal lighter is inside. It is just literally just a normal cigarette lighter, and that just converts it into a flamethrower. I definitely don't need that, but it just makes lighting so much easier if it's windy, and I just get a kick out of it. I don't know, I just really enjoy using that to start my start my stove. So, and then this is the main bit of the stove. So inside this little thing, you can just see it pops out. I have the fuel bottle, so that's just got some alcohol in there, and that is just the measuring cup. And then this is the main bit of the stove. It's just wrapped in this Tyvek sheet. And this is the Trail Designs Sidewinder Tie-Try, I think it is. So that is the stand for the pot. So basically that goes there, this sits in the middle, you light that, and then this is designed to sit perfectly on there. So it wraps around, that serves as the pot stand and the windscreen. Honestly, this one is so much more efficient, so much faster than any other alcohol stove I've ever used. It's just a completely different beast. Really love this stove. The system that I use is, I use a pot cozy, so that's the bottom half of the setup. Again, this is just homemade. It's super cheap to make that, super easy. So what I basically do when to cook my food, say I'm eating pasta, which I'm going to be doing shortly, I will boil the pasta, and then as soon as it comes to a boil, I will just take this off the heat, put that in the pot cozy, and then that just gets sealed up, keeps the heat in, and that will just continue cooking while it's in the cozy, but obviously doesn't use up any more fuel. So it does take a little bit longer than cooking with a normal system. So I don't know, cooking with pasta, it takes like 12 minutes. If I put it in this, it takes maybe like 15, 20, depending on how al dente you want your pasta. So it's a little bit longer, but it's really not much longer. And it means that I don't ever have to worry about stirring the food. Titanium cookware does tend to burn really easily if you don't keep stirring it. So it just alleviates that possibility. It means that basically I can just get it on the boil. As soon as it's boiling, I put it in the pot cozy. I can bugger off and do something else for 20 minutes and forget about it. And I come back 20 minutes later, food's ready to go. It's that easy. So it saves a lot of fuel because you're using, less than half the fuel that you'd need to keep it burning for that much longer. And it just takes all the faff out of it. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of pot cozies. So you can make one of these yourself, super easy, super cheap. And for me, that is a game changer. So I really recommend making a pot cozy. And the last thing that I have in this bag is a 13-litre Ultrasil dry sack from Sea to Summit. This is basically just for the laptop. If I think there's any chance of rain, I'll put the laptop inside this to keep it dry, because this Handlebar bag is water resistant, but not fully waterproof. And obviously I want to keep my laptop protected. The last thing in this bag is my tripod, which just gets stored on top of the pouch for very quick access. This is the Aoka carbon tripod, which is the lightest full-size tripod I've been able to find. It weighs about 500 grams. I'm mostly pretty happy with it. It's not the most secure, but for the weight, I'm not going to complain. Okay, so next I'll move over to the frame bag. This is the Rockgeist 52 Hertz mountain frame bag. Absolutely love this frame bag. It is expensive, but it is, I think, the best frame bag you can buy. It has the roll top, which again is a big thing. I really just want to avoid zips as much as possible because they're going to fail eventually. And this bag, unlike basically every other frame bag on the market, is completely waterproof, or at least completely rainproof, let's say. The frame bag is probably my favorite bag on the bike because it stores everything right in the frame there. It's very well centered. It's super quick to access in here. And honestly, I think frame bags are incredible. So if you have got a decently large frame like I do with this one, you can fit a lot of stuff in there and it's all quick to access, keeps the weight centered on the bike. So frame bags are absolutely amazing. The first thing I have in there is my electronics bag. This is just in this 3-litre dry bag. So I have in there my Kindle Paperwhite, 2 20,000 milliampere hour battery packs. So I prefer just to go with battery packs as opposed to a dynamo or solar. 2 of these are cheap, not too heavy, and 2 20,000 milliamp hour battery packs is for me enough to easily go a week without recharging, and longer if I push it, if I'm being very conservative. And that's even with all the camera usage that I have. It's pretty rare that I can't resupply, can't recharge at least once a week. I have a bunch of cables. This is my head torch. So that is the Phoenix something. I'll write that up there. Really, really recommend this head torch. It's so much better than the Petzl one that I was using before. I have my Swiss Army knife in here. I think this is called the Handyman, this particular version, which for me is definitely the best. It has everything I want on there. And then finally, I just have my power pack, what I use to charge my stuff. So that is a Tomox power plug, and that's got two USB-A and a USB-C PD charge there, so I really like that. Forgot to mention the watch that I wear. This is the Garmin Fenix 6 Pro smartwatch. It's good, I like it. It's not perfect, but it's good enough, and that is the charging cable for that. And that is everything I carry in this little bag. So the next thing I have in here are my sunglasses. Now, most of the time I'm actually wearing these during the day, but I have the pouch in there, and right now those are in there. These are the Ombraz Viale sunglasses. So it's got basically this leash on it, as opposed to the standard sunglass arms that most sunglasses come with. A bunch of my friends recommended trying these, so I got a pair about 3 months ago, and I absolutely love them. I'm sold. I think definitely the armless sunglasses style is great. It's so much more comfortable than normal ones. There's no chance of it falling off. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to go back to ordinary sunglasses for bikepacking at this point. They're just really, really nice to have. Really nice sunglasses. The lenses are amazing. Yeah, love everything about them. So those are really good. Would definitely recommend checking them out. The next thing I have in there is some electrolytes. It is really nice just to have some flavor to put in your water, especially if you're filtering water that doesn't taste very good. And electrolytes are always nice, especially if it's as hot as it is right now in Mexico. The next thing I have in there is just a small screw top plastic container. I'm using this right now for overnight oats. So basically I just make the overnight oats the night before, and then in the morning I have my breakfast ready to go. So baby wipes, next thing. I'll usually use a few of these every night just to wash off the road dust and try and keep myself as clean as possible. I have my bicycle pump, which is obviously vital. This is the Design Micro Floor Drive HV. Best pump I've ever found. And then the other stuff I have in here right now is just a little bit of food. My frame bag is generally mostly empty, so this is where I store a lot of my food. Because I can get to this super quickly during the day, this is where I store the day-to-day food. So it's all incredibly accessible, and I can probably get a couple of days food just in the frame bag alone pretty easily. And then if I'm doing longer resupply stretches, more than 2 or 3 days, the extra food will go into the Handlebar bag. Between these two, that's where I store my food. And as I say, in terms of capacity, I can very easily carry up to about 5 to 7 days worth of food. And then if worst comes to worst, I do have that 30-litre hiking backpack, which I can put on and wear if I need the extra capacity. It's not something I want to do regularly, but the number of times that I need to carry more than a week's worth of food are extremely low. So that is everything that I carry in the frame bag. So lastly, the cockpit. I really love this top tube pack from Tailfin. It is fully rainproof, and the opening and closing system is absolutely brilliant for quick access. So inside I have my dummy wallet. So that's my day-to-day wallet. There's never too much money in there, so if I do get robbed, I'm willing to give that away without a fight. I then have 2 different pairs of headphones. So this one is the Anker Soundcore Liberty 3 NC. This is the standard in-ear type of headphone with noise cancellation. The other pair of headphones I have are the Shox Open Fit. These are the bone conduction headphones. So these wrap around your ears instead of going inside. And the big advantage of these is that they don't affect your peripheral hearing at all. You can still hear everything that's going on around you. You don't lose any awareness, and that's obviously really great for cycling. The downside to these is that they don't deal very well in loud environments. So if you do have a lot of traffic or wind noise around you, you're just not going to hear it all that well. But I do really like both of these for different applications, and I don't mind carrying a spare, as it's always good to have a backup anyway. So I have a spare battery for my drone in there. This is the bike tool which I carry. This is the Topeak Ratchet Rocket Lite DX Plus. I do really like this. I am definitely sold on ratchet tools, as they do make life quite a bit easier. Next, I have my tubeless plug repair kit, if I can get to it. So that's all this is. It's just the injector tool, and these are the bacon strips. And I also have just a number 4 Allen key. That's basically just a backup because my main tool uses bits, and it's pretty easy to lose those. The number 4 is the most used tool on the bike, so I just carry that so that if I lose the number 4 bit piece, I'm not completely out of luck. And this is also a little bit quicker for on-the-fly adjustments. And finally, I carry my wireless microphone here in the top tube bag as well. This is the DJI Mic 2, which I think is pretty good. This is what I'm using to record the audio you're listening to right now. So these Revelate Designs feeder bags are great because they have a lot of extra storage on the side. On the right-hand pouch here, I have just a little thing of antibacterial hand wash. On the left-hand side, the front pouch, I have my shopping bag. So this is a packable Sea to Summit shopping bag. I'll just grab that when I go into shops to do my grocery shopping. And then on the left-hand side, I have my sun cream, and this is SPF lip chap. So on the front of the bike, I have my Garmin 1040 Solar, I believe this one is. Like, bike computers really frustrate me because they're so ridiculously expensive and they're basically crap. This thing doesn't cost that much less than a smartphone, and yet it's so much worse. For me, it's definitely worth having some kind of bike computer for navigation, because if I only use my phone, it burns the battery too quickly. So I definitely want something like this, but it just annoys me how clunky it is, how limited it is, and how expensive it is. I'm gonna say I wouldn't actually recommend this. I mean, I'm using it and I'll keep using it for a little bit longer, but I'm probably gonna be trying something different the next chance I get. It's kind of frustrating how bad bike computers are. All of them, not just Garmin, but like Wahoo as well. Like, they're not very good for what you pay for them. The nice thing, at least this one, the Garmin 1040 Solar, the battery life is pretty good on it. I mean, I can get usually sort of like 5 or 6 days worth of use out of this one on one charge, which is pretty good, but they're so expensive. Definitely don't buy one of those if money's tight. And on the other side, I have my iPhone 13 Pro. This is 4 years old now. I might be upgrading this year, but we'll see. But yeah, I have this stored in the Peak Designs case, and then I have the Peak Designs out front mount on the front. And I have to say, I really love these. I have nothing to do with Peak Designs, but the magnetic attachment on these is truly brilliant. And it is so quick. I mean, literally, it's on and it's off, and it's so secure as well. I mean, I bomb down crazy trails. The attachment is really that strong, so really love this. That is highly recommended, the Peak Design system. I was using Quad Lock for quite a few years, and I have to say I have no affiliation with Peak Design, but it is so much better than Quad Lock. It's just so much faster to take on and off the bike. So in addition to having my phone attached on the Peak Designs out front mount, what I've done is I've actually put a universal Peak Designs mount onto the back of my drone RC. So this is the DJI RC2, which I have stored in my hip pack. And I just bought one of these universal attachments for it, and I glued that onto the back of the RC. And what it means is I can store my drone remote controller on the handlebar as well. And it means that when I'm flying my drone while I'm cycling, I have a perfect view of what my drone is seeing right in front of me. I can even control my drone one-handed while I'm cycling using this, because it stays there really solidly on the bike. And then when I'm done, I can just take it off, put it back into my hip pack. So lastly, I'll run you through the extra stuff that I'm carrying on the frame. So on the front here, you can see my bicycle lock that is just attached onto the down tube there. I really like this lock because it is the lightest lock I've been able to find, which should resist a standard bolt cutter for at least a little while. A cable lock, those kind of standard cable locks that you're gonna see, are completely useless. You can go through one of those in 2 seconds using a small bolt cutter, whereas this should resist it for at least a little while. So next, in this little bag that you can just see in the top of the triangle here, this is just kind of my emergency kit. Okay, so this is the emergency bag. It's super dusty because it hasn't come off my bike in a long time, thankfully. So I have a couple of tire levers in there, a spoke key, tire boot, a tube. So the Tuboliter inner tube. I do run tubeless with my bike, but I still want to carry one tube just in case. And these are ridiculously tiny. That is a full size 29er inner tube. And that is the patch kit for that tube as well, just in case. That is another tubeless repair tool. That's for kind of larger holes that a normal plug won't fix. There's some more bacon strips there for tubeless repair. This is the Lesign chain plier tool. So I really like this. That's got a chain breaker. These are for loosening the master link on your chain. It's also got a bunch of chain links in there as well. Those are just extra master links that just get stored in there. And then this does also have a valve core remover tool there, and it does have a disc rotor tuning tool as well. I have a whole bunch of cable ties just duct taped together there. And then lastly, I just have a bag with some extra bolts. The idea basically is that I want a replacement for every single bolt on my bike I want to be able to replace. So I have one of each size of bolt to cover all of my needs in there. If I'm having to go into this bag for any reason, it's because something has gone wrong, but it's all there, relatively accessible if I need it. On the other side of the bike, I have my tent poles stored in a top tent pole pouch on the down tube there, and that works really well. That's a really nice way to store your tent poles. In terms of water capacity, I have 5 litres worth of water bottles stored on the bike. 2 litres are stored up front, and on the back side I have 2 attached to the seat stays, and then obviously 1 extra bottle stored on the bottom of the down tube there. So I've had quite a lot of questions about how I secure these bottles on the seat stays. So all I've done is I have just taken a bit of shock cord and I've cable tied that onto the frame so that it doesn't move up or down, and that's just a standard bit of shock cord. And then I can just put the bottle in the cage and just get the shock cord and very quickly just wrap it around. It's a little bit easier to do this when you're not filming, but anyway, so that's literally it. And that is rock steady. So that has never moved. It is much faster than using a ski strap, like a Voil strap or something. I have the same trick going on here for the front one. So again, makes it super easy, just take it on and off, and it stops it from eventually working itself loose on the really rough ground that I tend to ride. So that works super well. 5 litres of water I find is generally enough most of the time, but I do also have an extra 2 litres of storage in my Handlebar bag in that 2 litre knock water bladder, which I'm using for my water filter. So that ups me to 7 litres. I was also carrying a 4 litre Hydropack Seeker bladder, so that was allowing me to carry 11 litres of water, which I needed to do when I was riding through the desert in Utah. But after I left Utah, I sent that back because I no longer needed that much capacity. Both the 2 litre water bladder and that 4 litre bladder fit comfortably into my frame bag. So that is where I store the extra water when I need it. The last thing I have attached to my frame is my bike stand, which is what I'm using to keep the bike from falling over right now. That is the click stand. It's absolutely great. Really love that little thing. It's much lighter than a kickstand, and it does the job. It keeps the bike up. It is really convenient actually just to have something to prop the bike up for loading and unloading if you don't have a tree or something else to lean your bike against. So the most asked question I've got is why I've switched from the rear rack and backpack combo, which is what I was using for several years, what I recommended in the previous version of this video 2 years ago. And I'm now switched for the last 6 months or so to using a seat pack. So there are basically 2 reasons that I've switched over to using a seat pack. The first reason is that I just don't need the extra capacity anymore. So this seat pack is 14 litres and it's not even full. I'd say I'm probably using, I don't know, 11, 12 litres max of that. So there's still a bit of extra space in there. I just have got my setup dialed in to the point now where I don't need the extra space. And the seat pack is quite a bit lighter than an equivalent combination of using a rack and a dry bag or a hiking backpack or something like that. So the seat pack is just quite a bit lighter. And the other reason essentially is the existence of that backpack that I'm now using, the Durston Waptor 30. Until that came out, I didn't really have access to a decent hiking backpack that packed down really small. But now with that backpack being so good and so compact, I still have a hiking backpack, and the combination of the hiking backpack and the seat pack is still lighter than throwing a hiking backpack on a rear rack. Now I could take that same backpack, the Durston Waptor 30, and I could throw that on a rear rack, but the other problem with that setup in my experience is that if you're going to be riding for months and months on rough ground with a backpack strapped to the rear rack, eventually it's going to start wearing out. And it does tend to damage the backpack if you have it strapped on the rack like that, because it's just those straps digging in and then it getting beaten up every day. I went through a lot of different backpacks. I just found that sooner or later they all got destroyed on the rear rack. It just wears them out quite quickly, whereas this is a purpose-made seat pack, so it lasts a lot longer. As I say, this one's done about 8 years of abuse so far. When I was running a rack and a backpack, a bit more of the weight was definitely shifted to the back, and I did get a little bit of that speed wobble sometimes, whereas now with this setup, I get absolutely none. And that kind of tells me that the bike is happier with this setup than it is with the rear rack. I do get asked quite often about the weight distribution being quite high, because obviously with the bags attached to either the handlebars or the saddle rails, the weight of these bags is fairly high up compared to something like a lowrider pannier set. But honestly, I mean, I don't know the science behind it, but I can tell you I've used both setups and I much prefer this setup. I get no wobble when I cycle. If I take my hands off the handlebars at speed, they stay completely steady. I don't get any kind of speed wobble with this setup. And the advantage of having the weight a bit higher on the bike is that it's just much more maneuverable. When I was riding a bike with the kind of low hanging panniers, the bike feels a bit more like a truck, whereas this just feels a lot more like like riding a normal bicycle. So the handling, I find, with the weight distributed in this way is just far, far better. It's just much nicer to use. A few of you have asked how the seat pack gets on with the Redshift shock stop suspension seat post that I really like here. Yeah, no problems, it works fine. Not all seat packs are going to work like that, but the Terrapin is totally fine. It makes the suspension seat post a little bit firmer, but you can also adjust that. The shock stop has adjustability, so you can loosen it up if you want, but I really like how these two play together. In terms of the ride feel of a seat pack versus a rack, I mean, the rack is obviously more stable. There's no wag, there's no wobble whatsoever, whereas this definitely does move around, but actually I don't feel it. Like, I mean, I don't notice it at all. And I do prefer how a seat pack feels. Even though there is movement, it moves with you. I prefer this. It's just somehow more forgiving. And when you go over bumps, there's not as much of like a hard impact that you get when you've got a solid object strapped to the rack. With this, it sort of moves a bit more gradually and a bit more, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It feels a little bit better for me. So I do really like the seat pack. That is why I've switched over, and that's why I will continue to use a seat pack. That said, do I recommend a seat pack to everyone? Definitely not, no. A seat pack only makes sense if you don't need the capacity. So if you have got your setup dialed in to a point where you really don't need the space, as I have here, then a seat pack makes sense. You know, you can get away with less weight, but that's probably not most people. To make this setup work, I have very good equipment, very high-end equipment, very compact equipment. Some of that's expensive. Not everyone can afford that. So if you can't afford that, it's not a problem. What I'd say is, if this isn't enough space for you for whatever reason, get a rear rack and throw a big dry bag on the top, or a backpack, whatever. I still think that is the way to go for most people. A lot of people are going to use a seat pack in conjunction with bags attached to the forks. I really don't recommend that, actually. I'm really not a fan of the fork bags, because if you look at how much they actually weigh for how much volume you get out of them, it's pretty crap, actually. I mean, you don't get much volume for the weight that you pay. So I think rather than go with a seat pack and 2 fork bags, if you need the extra space of those fork bags, you're so much better off just getting a rear rack, throwing down a 20 or even 30 litre dry bag or backpack on there, and you'll get more capacity for less weight while also being more versatile. If you haven't already watched it, check out the video I made 2 years ago. That's still worth a watch. Even if you've watched this, there are going to be some extra bits in there that I haven't covered today. I am, of course, losing a bit of versatility with a seat pack instead of a rack. The nice thing about a rack is that you can throw down extra things on top of that dry bag or backpack. So you can strap extra water on top. You can strap extra crap to it if you really need the extra space. But for me, I just don't need that extra space. I mean, let's say the setup is so dialed in and I have so much extra capacity, even with this setup, that I just don't really need that versatility, because I've got it covered in other areas of the bike. So this is the setup I'm going to continue to use. I really, really love this. But anyway, that is why I have made the switch. And that is why I think this is probably the optimal setup, but not necessarily the setup that I would recommend for most people. But yeah, anyway, this is what has worked for me. Okay, well, I think that is just about everything I wanted to say. I need to get back on the road myself, so I'm going to leave it there. If you found this video useful, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a like, drop a comment, subscribe to my channel, do the whole YouTube thing. It really helps me out. A ton of work does go into making these videos, so if you'd like to support me and give something back, please consider joining my Patreon community, where you get early and ad-free access to all videos, as well as a ton of bonus content not found anywhere else. Cheers for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.